I've been thinking about something lately, and I was wondering about some of our clients that we've been working with, and when they're starting to get involved in new relationships, and how they're managing that, and how their children are managing that. And I was wondering if maybe we could talk about that today.
Sounds good.
That's a good topic.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the age of the children and the intent of the parents, if it's to really control each other's behavior or if it's really about what's best for the children.
That's true. I also think it depends how quickly they've separated, how new it is. Has it been something going on for a long time in which they're separated for a significant amount of time, or they've just moved out 5 days ago? I think that timing really has a big impact on it.
You have two parents and they're each involved with someone else. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy for them to agree on introduction of a third person.
Absolutely.
Right? So sometimes the parent thinks, I can introduce the children to the new person in my life because I'm doing it the right way and this person is good for me.
Yes.
But the new person in my ex-spouse's life, I have questions about. I don't think he or she is good for my ex-spouse, children's parent, other parent.
Right.
I think sometimes parents are so surprised also when they've gotten to the emotional place in their life when they're ready to move on and they're ready to be with other people, that even if it is a significant amount of time that has gone by, that the children aren't as excited as they would expect them to be, because since they've separated and they've both crafted their own new journeys and their own new paths, they kind of just expect that the children will kind of jump on board with that.
I was wondering, it seems like a lot of times the question will come up about what can go into an agreement. And can go into an agreement that there's a period of time before a new person is introduced to the parent.
Right. So that's a really difficult question to answer because it depends on the jurisdiction. Judges view that kind of language differently from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. In general, judges don't like provisions that aren't enforceable. Court's not policing the homes of the parties, and it's a very difficult field to negotiate. I think that it helps to have a lot of discussion during the process, and maybe people reach an understanding or have an appreciation of what each other's concerns are. But putting it in a dissolution agreement, most likely not going to fly.
But that's one of those things. It's important that can't necessarily be enforced by the court, but there are all kinds of agreements like that that parents may want that come to between themselves that are still meaningful and really matter. Just how are they going to manage? How are they going to agree together to take the best care or have the interests of their children be at the forefront with the evolving family? Like how to make it work. So anyway, it's like agreements they can still come to, even if they're not formalized in the written agreement or can't be enforced by the court.
But we can put in language that if such and such arises, that the parents can't resolve it, they agree to return to mediation or they agree to return to the collaborative process.
Right.
That's the way to capture those concerns without having an express court order that you cannot do X, Y, and Z.
Yes, great, right.
That's a good point, Louise, because I think parents really struggle in their co-parenting relationships when items like that can't be enforced or aren't specifically in a court order. It really speaks to the tenor of their ongoing communication and ability to move forward into that post-dissolution life successfully without conflict.
Yeah.
What about activities? I was thinking about that when you were talking about finances, Lisa, about, things that people may struggle with when there's activities and things or needs for the children that came, quote unquote, first, and then the new family.
Yeah. Well, and I always wonder too about having things be even when with these blended families, and the parents, the significant other that's new coming into the relationship, may have a very different parenting style with his or her children than what they're bringing into the family, whether it be things that they're permitted to do, or cell phones at the age of 13, and or curfews, things like that, and the parents wanting things to be even. And then when there's the whole conversation of college or private school and public school or a car and things like that, the finances play a big role if the two adults now don't have the same ideas about how those things should be treated. So I think it's really touchy, and I don't know that adults will really talk about that in the terms of how are they going to handle these issues or concerns that may come up with the children, to make sure that everyone in the family is now being treated fairly, not just from a attention standpoint, but from a monetary standpoint as well.
Maybe for our next topic, now I'm imagining the new relationship proceeding and those people getting married, and like the idea of a prenuptial, like having those conversations before the weddings. But that's totally like a different topic, but
right,
just brings that up, like all the conversations that are helpful to have. I mean, that's the collaborative process, mediation also, but the collaborative process really allows, if people want to take advantage for it or really sit there for it, to have some informed by some experts, like have well-informed conversations about what seems to be best in their family, how to manage it, how to shape it around their children. Yeah.
Well, the more I do collaborative, the more I am struck by the fact that this process allows for not just the getting to the divorce or the separation date, but the planning for the future, really planning for what it's going to look like down the road. Whereas there's not that mechanism in every process. And that goes to finances, future planning for your families, which I think is really advantageous for people to not see it as an end date, but actually a beginning date for what the next chapter of their lives are going to look like.